From the outside, Rohan and Aisha were the perfect couple. They had the house, the careers, and the peaceful life everyone envied. "You two are so lucky," friends would say. But behind closed doors, the truth was different. Every morning followed a cold script. Rohan drank his tea and left for work with barely a word. Aisha moved through her chores like a ghost in her own home. Silence had become their only constant companion. Aisha found an old album, filled with wedding photos and forgotten dreams. A single tear fell as she watched Rohan scroll through his phone, oblivious. She wanted to scream, to break the heavy wall between them, but the words died. The perfect image was just a facade. The apartment was always quiet now. No fighting, no raised voices, just a heavy silence filling every room. Aisha sat alone in the dim light, the glow of her phone the only spark. She scrolled through old photos, a faint smile touching her lips. "Things were so different before," she whispered. There was Rohan. He used to call just to hear her voice, bringing small gifts. Every simple moment felt special, filled with a vibrant energy that now seemed lost to time. Now, Rohan was distant, his eyes vacant and his words few. The silence between them had grown into a vast, unbridgeable chasm. Aisha closed her eyes, a single tear tracing a path down her. The office hummed with the last whispers of the day. Rohan sat alone, the blue glow of his screen reflecting in vacant eyes. Everyone had left, but he remained, lost in a world far from spreadsheets. His mind drifted to Aisha. He remembered her bright smile and her laughter, light and free. Rohan closed his eyes, a silent question echoing. Where did we lose all this? The apartment was a tomb of unspoken words. Aisha lay still. A silent plea formed on his lips, but the words remained trapped. Silence, heavy and suffocating, filled the space between them. One Sunday, a ray of hope pierced the gloom. Aisha discovered a forgotten notebook, its pages yellowed with time. She opened it slowly, a forgotten world waiting to be rediscovered. The old wooden desk creaked as Aisha sat down, her hands trembling. She clutched the worn blue notebook. The handwriting was unmistakably Rohan's. Her heart pounded like a frantic drum. She read, "Things I love about Aisha." Tears welled as she turned the pages. "I love her smile," it declared. Then, "I love how she cares about small things." By the final page, it read, "I love her more than anything." Aisha collapsed into sobs, pressing the book to her chest. The door creaked. Rohan stood there, his voice soft with concern. "Aisha, what happened?" She looked up, her eyes meeting his. In that moment, months of silence melted away, and a fragile bridge began to form between them. Aisha sat alone on the weathered park bench, tears streaming down her face. Her hands trembled as she clutched a worn notebook. Rohan approached, his brow furrowed. "Aisha, why are you crying?" he asked softly. She looked up with red, swollen eyes. "Do you remember this?" she whispered. Rohan took the book, his gaze falling upon his own familiar handwriting. "Yes, I wrote that a long time ago," he admitted. Aisha stood, her posture stiff. "A long time ago?" she repeated. "So now, you don't feel this anymore? You used to love my smile, Rohan. Now you don't even look at me. We don't even talk." Rohan remained silent, his eyes filled with regret. The notebook slipped from his grasp, falling silently to the grass, forgotten once again. Rohan stared at the crumpled letter in his hand. Every word was a painful truth. Aisha's voice was soft, but firm. "I didn't change in one day, Rohan," she said. "It happened slowly, and you didn't even notice." Rohan took a shaky breath. Life became busy, Aisha. Work pressure, responsibilities. She shook her head with a sad smile. "Being busy is not the problem. Forgetting someone is." Her voice cracked, Why does it feel like I don't exist? Rohan sank into a chair, his face in his hands. We weren't fighting, so I thought we were okay. Aisha whispered. Not fighting doesn't mean we are happy. That truth hit his core. He looked at her with raw honesty. I miss you, he said suddenly. I miss the old us. I miss your laughter and just talking to you. Aisha sat on the park bench, the warm afternoon sun kissing her tear-stained face. A flicker of hope stirred within her. She looked at Rohan and asked softly, Then why didn't you say anything before? Rohan looked at the ground, his smile heavy with sadness. I thought you were busy, he admitted. I thought you had changed, and I didn't want to disturb you. Aisha shook her head, whispering, I was waiting for you. Those words shattered Rohan's heart. He knelt before her, his eyes searching hers with raw emotion. Aisha, can we try again? He asked. Try what? She challenged. Us, he replied, his hand hovering near hers. A long, beautiful silence followed, filled with the rustle of leaves. A new beginning was finally one step away. Aisha gazed at Rohan, her heart yearning to say yes. Yet, her mind was still clouded with deep pain. Trying again is not easy, she stated slowly, her voice soft. Things are not the same anymore. Rohan nodded, his expression understanding. I am not asking for everything to be perfect, he replied. I just want us to start, step by step. Aisha took a deep, shaky breath. Start from where? She inquired. Rohan paused. From talking. That is where we lost everything. Aisha lowered her gaze. Okay, she whispered. We can try. That evening, they sat together at the dinner table. The silence was uncomfortable until Rohan broke it gently. How was your day? He asked. A flicker of surprise dawned in Aisha's eyes. Aisha sat across from Rohan, a hesitant smile flickering on her face. It was normal, she whispered. Rohan leaned forward, his usual distraction gone. Tell me, he encouraged. As she shared her day, Rohan listened with a genuine focus. She had not felt in years. In the kitchen, Rohan surprised her. Let me help, he offered. Aisha turned, her eyes wide. You never help, she noted. Rohan smiled softly. I know, but I want to change that. Side by side, the heavy silence finally began to lift. The days that followed were not easy. Old habits resurfaced, and awkward silences tried to creep back in. Yet, they persisted. Each small effort was a brick in a new bridge. One evening, Rohan arrived home early, a hopeful glint in his eyes, ready to try again. The old wooden door creaked open, breaking the heavy silence of the hallway. Rohan stood there, a worn box clutched tightly in his hand. Aisha, he called, his voice a soft murmur. Aisha emerged from the shadows, her eyes fixed on the package. What is it? She asked. Rohan smiled gently, offering it to her. Open it, he urged. Inside, a simple silver bracelet sparkled. Aisha looked up, nostalgia softening her gaze. You used to bring gifts like this, she whispered. Rohan stepped closer, his sincerity clear. It is not just a gift, Aisha. It is a promise. I will not let us become strangers again. Her breath caught as she held the metal tight. No magic words followed. Only a profound silence. But that night, the distance between them began to fade, and their hearts started coming closer once more. Weeks passed as a subtle shift began. Conversations grew longer, and smiles returned. Yet a lingering pain remained. One evening, heavy rain turned the world cold. Aisha watched the glass, while Rohan quietly joined her side. Can I ask you something? She murmured. Did you ever feel tired of me? Rohan's eyes widened. No, he replied instantly. Never. Aisha turned to him, her voice steady. Then why did you stop caring? Rohan took a shaky breath. I didn't stop caring. I just stopped showing it. I thought providing was enough, but I was terribly wrong. Tears welled in Aisha's eyes. I felt so alone. Even with you right there. Rohan whispered an apology, reaching for her hand. I needed your time, she said softly. Your attention and your words, not just your presence. The rain continued to drum against the window. The rain outside the cafe softened to a gentle drizzle, mirroring the quiet shift within. Rohan nodded slowly, his gaze fixed on Aisha. I understand now, he whispered, feeling a genuine connection form at last. Rohan leaned closer across the small table. Why didn't you tell me this before? He asked gently. Aisha offered a sad smile. I tried, she admitted, but I felt like you weren't listening. So I stopped speaking. Her simple truth struck him with a sharp, heavy pang. Rohan reached out, taking her hand. I am listening now, he said firmly. No more silence. No more hiding feelings. Even if it hurts, we will talk. Aisha nodded, a single tear falling. Yes, she whispered. They weren't just fixing a relationship. They were finally learning how to protect it. The storm had finally passed, leaving the morning air crisp and still. Aisha woke with a rare sense of clarity. In the kitchen, the rhythmic sound of the kettle became her only companion. Soft footsteps announced Rohan's arrival. Good morning, he said, his voice unusually gentle. Startled by his tone, Aisha looked up and offered a small, tentative smile in return. They sat in a comfortable silence, steam rising from their cups. Rohan broke the quiet. I was thinking, maybe we can go out this weekend. Aisha paused, searching his eyes. Where? She asked. Anywhere, he replied softly. Just somewhere together. Aisha felt a wall come down. Okay, she whispered. That single word was everything. Later, as she walked to her office, her steps felt lighter than they had in years. Aisha felt a quiet mending within her soul after Sarah noticed her new glow. At the office, Rohan finally listened to the echo of Aisha's loneliness. He surprised her by coming home early. I wanted to be here, he said gently, melting the ice between them. Weeks passed as evening walks replaced distant silences. They returned to their old cafe, ordering the same as before. Surrounded by the scent of coffee, they laughed about the day Rohan first said, I love you. The mature understanding between them grew stronger, turning old ghosts into cherished memories as they sat in their favorite corner. They realized love isn't just a feeling. It is effort, time, and communication. Aisha opened her notebook to a new page, celebrating their vibrant present. Together, they faced a hopeful future. Golden sunlight streamed into the apartment as Rohan and Aisha shared a quiet coffee. Their laughter filled the room, and their bond felt stronger than it had ever been before. Suddenly, a sharp ringtone shattered the silence. It was Rohan's manager with a massive career opportunity. Rohan's eyes lit up with excitement, but the joy was short-lived as the conditions were revealed. Rohan sat in heavy silence. What happened? Aisha asked gently. He looked at her, his voice subdued. I got the project, but it means late nights and constant travel. Aisha's smile slowly vanished as a familiar fear crept into her eyes. The morning sun seemed to dim. Both were haunted by the same unspoken question. Would their love survive the distance this time? A heavy, cold anxiety filled the room. Rohan feared the silence, but Aisha offered a new path. We cannot run from life, she said, but we can handle it differently. They promised to talk every single day. The days were hard. Rohan returned home exhausted, yet the silence was gone. Even for 10 minutes, they shared their burdens. When work pulled Rohan away, distance became the ultimate test. One low night, Aisha reached out through her tears. I am with you, Rohan whispered over the phone. They realized love is about staying connected when the world pulls you apart. Rohan returned not just to a house, but to a home. As he held Aisha tightly, they both knew the truth. They would never be silent again, for they understood their true value. Life seemed stable until a single notification shattered the peace. Using Rohan's laptop, Aisha saw a message from Nina. I really enjoyed our time today. Her heart began to race. Doubt took root. Why the emoji? Why the secret? When Rohan returned, Aisha's silence was heavy. She searched for the truth in his eyes. Who is Nina? She snapped, her voice sharp with pain. Rohan looked confused. She is just a colleague, he replied. Aisha pressed harder. Then why the message? Rohan finally understood. Aisha, the whole team went for coffee after our meeting. It was a group event, nothing more. Relief washed over her, replacing anger with a sheepish smile. They sat late into the night. Their trust was no longer fragile. It was forged. A wave of relief washed over Aisha, yet a seed of doubt remained. Why didn't you tell me? She asked, her voice tinged with hurt. Rohan paused, his gaze distant. I didn't think it was important, he admitted. Aisha's voice rose. Not important? You used to tell me everything. This is how the distance begins again. A heavy silence descended, thick with the weight of their past. Rohan wanted to shout, but he remembered their promise. Aisha, look at me, he urged gently. I am not that same person. I am trying every day for us. He reached out, his touch steady and honest. The anger dissolved into a small spark of hope. They realized it is not problems that break a heart, but the silence between them. They chose to keep talking. Days turned into months as Rohan and Aisha nurtured their bond. Problems didn't vanish, but they learned to handle them together. They shared small things and listened deeply. Slowly, trust grew much stronger than fear. One evening, Rohan returned with a smile. Aisha, I got promoted, he announced. Her face lit up. That's amazing. I'm so proud of you, she exclaimed. Hugging him tightly, he whispered, I couldn't have done it without you. Under a calm sky, they looked back on their journey. We almost lost everything once, Rohan admitted. Aisha smiled softly. But we didn't, because we chose not to. Love isn't just about happy moments. It's about staying when things are difficult. Rohan smiled with a gentle warmth. I learned that silence is dangerous, he said softly. Aisha met his gaze and whispered, yes, very dangerous. A shared laugh of understanding followed. Rohan returned with an old, worn notebook. Aisha, let's write something together, he said with purpose. A bright smile lit her face as she agreed, her heart feeling light. They opened to a blank page and wrote a new title, How to Protect Our Love. Together, they listed the truths. Talk every day. Listen carefully. Respect feelings. Never hide emotions. Never let silence grow. Aisha looked at the page with peace. This is better than the old list, she said. Rohan nodded. Yes, because this one is real. Love isn't about perfection. It's about choosing each other every single day. Now, when silence comes, they know how to break it with honesty and love.